I do want to welcome you to today's webinar. We're going to highlight 3 common fuel pricing frustrations and how to solve them. As we work with a lot of people in the fuel pricing industry, it's not uncommon when we walk into their office and we hear the same thing over and over again. Today presenting is Quentin Goin. Quentin is a sales engineer here with PriceAdvantage. He actually is the one who hears this far more than I do because he makes a lot of on-site visits to prospects and customers throughout the country. Quentin, if you would, let's move to the next slide and we will get rolling. So again, we've got Quentin. He's our Enterprise Application Engineer. I'm Allison Rowe. I'm the Director of Marketing for PriceAdvantage. Throughout today's webinar, Quentin is your presenter. I'm your moderator. I will, if you have any problems or questions, feel free to use the question tool or the chat tool or raise your hand, and I'm here to help you with any of those issues and to moderate questions for Quentin. So here are the 3 sort of areas that we like to categorize for problems when people are pricing fuel. The first, we've sort of bunched it into an area called reliable data. One of the most common things are for fuel pricing analysts or the directors in charge of pricing fuel has to wait each morning for store managers to submit their daily surveys. After those surveys, or should I say if and when the surveys are submitted, those analysts often have to juggle multiple spreadsheets to determine the new price for each store and each commodity. A lot of times they're pulling data out of the back office. They want to know replacement costs, competitor pricing. So I'm talking to the preaching to the choir right here, is that you know how much data you have to juggle. All of that data and waiting for those surveys and waiting for that data that causes delays. So once you've determined your price and you've contacted your store, whether it's telephone, fax, email, then there's the delay in knowing if or when the store personnel has actually even updated the new prices. You could have a moment in your store where it's crowded, they can't get out. It could be a manual sign, so weather is preventing them from getting out and changing. So most of our customers say one of their largest frustrations, they don't even know if the prices were changed. The last thing, which it's interesting, we had a customer come on recently who said, my tipping point was I could never take a vacation. He could never get out of the office. He had to have his laptop with him all the time because there wasn't this sustainable way to price fuel. He could never check out. He said, it's always me. And while there were some people at his company who could help with a limited capacity, there just really wasn't a sustainable pricing strategy. Quentin, you want to go to the next slide? This is an example. All of these frustrations that we have in some way or another impact the time it takes to change prices and how it impacts your bottom line. We have, this is a sort of a basic version of our lost profitability calculator, but using a lot of data from thousands of stores over a number of years, we're actually able to sort of predict volumes, margins, and profit based on how quickly you can change prices at your store. So this is an example of all the delays that we just mentioned. If you have 50 stores and each store averages 135,000 gallons per month per store, and you try to change your prices 5 times at each store with the actual average price change of 2 cents, if it takes you an hour and a half to change those prices by the time you determine the new price, send it to the store, and the store to get it posted, we estimate that you're losing approximately $60,000 annually. The faster you can get those prices to the store, the less profit you lose. And this is, we have a little more detailed version of this and can walk through all of the background information for you, but it's really impactful to see how a delay is hurting your store and your retail profits. And from this point, Quentin is going to take over because he wants to show you how to fix these frustrations, how to price fuel more quickly, and how to improve your volumes and margins.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Allison. So let's go through these 3 bullets again. When we talked about those frustrations, here's some ways that you can resolve those frustrations. How do you get those the data, reliable data, and how can you make it automated? Well, there's many ways to do that, and so we're going to be walking through a demonstration of that, and so here's some bullets related to it. Opus radius reports for competitive data. You can have costs coming in. You can have your managers during surveys, sales volumes. So all of these could be coming in from those typical accounting tools, and also other sources of data. So we pride ourselves in integrating with other solutions to get data all automated to come into your solution, so that then it's consolidated. You have one place to look at the data, make pricing decisions quickly rather than tossing around the different Excel spreadsheets and making sure that somebody else updated them and is it the right version. You know how Excel spreadsheets go. They're pretty powerful, but they do have limitations. So the second bullet point, how do we get that confirmation, the full loop automation? So we want the automation part, right? You want to be able to click a price change and know that the price change is truly changing at the site for the POS, the pumps, and the signs. And getting that confirmation back is really crucial as well, to know what is posted at my site and each site. So the right store, the right price. That's the bottom line that you're aiming for there. The third item is sustainable. How can you get on those vacations? How can you trust a backup person or have the system help you while you're remote, you're at a conference, trade show, etc. You can have these business rules and pricing strategies documented in the system, and so the system is going to be helping you price each morning, or your backup person, or you while you're remote, and so you can schedule price changes. You can have some flexibility of how those price changes take place. When do you determine the price? When do you implement the price? You have that flexibility within PriceAdvantage. So you can price anywhere using mobile devices. It could be your tablet, your phone. I guess we're kind of moving on towards all sorts of remote devices as well. Market change alerts. You can also have when is the market moving. You have costs that are changing, competitor prices that are changing. You want to be alerted of that as well. So rather than looking at all the data all at once, you can get some exception management to say, only show me the data that I care about. Tell me when a competitor moves more than 2 cents or 5 cents or whatever the case may be. If it's only moving 1 cent, no, that's fine. I'll just automate that and just follow that guy across the street, or use your other pricing strategies. We'll walk through some of those in the demonstration now, and as you have questions through this demonstration, feel free to use the chat functionality on the GoToWebinar on the side there. All right, so let me switch over to PriceAdvantage. So the first bullet point we were just talking about was reliable data. How do you get those surveys in? We talked to many customers who are still chasing surveys information. And so you have sites who are submitting surveys, or they're not submitting surveys, and you have to chase it around. How do you know, first of all, who has submitted a survey and who hasn't? Well, when you submit it into a system, rather than a text or an email and those sort of things, it's easier to keep track of. So I'm looking at PriceAdvantage right here. You should be seeing this on your screen, where I have a column on the right-hand side with some colorful dots called surveys. The green dots mean the surveys have been submitted. The red dots mean it is late. So I have a deadline of 7 a.m. this morning, and some sites have not submitted those surveys. So I could sort this whole column if I want to see all the sites that are submitted on time or not. I also have late surveys at the top of the page here that I could look at, and it's going to show me all of those locations, phone numbers, etc. So it's easy for me to know who has and who has not submitted those surveys. Keep in mind that what's nice about PriceAdvantage is we can also have email, text messages going out to the site managers to remind them. So really at 7:01, my deadline was 7 o'clock, 7:01 an email could go out to these individual sites. So I have a site here in Middletown, Delaware, and if it is late submitting their surveys, they could receive a text or email. Same thing with the territory manager, responsible for more stores in that area. So maybe they have 10, 20 stores that they're responsible for. they could also receive a text message and let them know. So now you can make sure that the accountability is there to make sure that they are submitting them on time and they're alerted when time gets slips past and they just forgot. Now they can have that reminder. So store managers, how do they submit those surveys? They could do it a number of different ways. They could do it through their back office PC, and they can also do it on any mobile device. So again, it gives them some flexibility of where do you want them to submit those surveys. We have customers doing it all different ways, and so we want to make it easy for them as well. So once that data is being submitted in, you want to start analyzing it. Well, what about other sources of data as well? Let's take a look at some other sources of data. I'm going to kind of take you into the kind of the backside or backstage, let's call it, of PriceAdvantage, where this is the setup portion, and where are we getting data? So how do you get this data? Maybe we just talked about manually submitting surveys, but what about an automated service? So we have Opus listed here. Here's an example of an automated service. So Opus radius reports can be automatically imported in, just the FTP site that we just go grab it from. You'll also see we have Fuel Z, PDI. This is now going into volume. So you have your fuel sales volumes that you sold yesterday, the day before, and you want to run reports on that. Now you can have that coming in automatically into PriceAdvantage. Also cost information. So there's actually several items just from PDI, and so we have generic versions of this. If you don't have PDI, that's fine. These are just typical examples. WEX, Telepoint, Simmons are some other examples of volume cost systems. Anything that you have, Factor, etc. So I mean, there's a number of accounting systems. We'll pull that data in and be able to import it for your volumes, for your fuel sales, your margins, and your costs, so that we can get all that information into the system and give it to you in an easy-to-use fashion so that you can make those business decisions and move on in your day, since you have many other hats that you're wearing as well. Okay, so let's take a look at going back and saying, all right, so when I first log in the morning, and I want to make some actions on any of the data that has moved. So we just talked about the reliable data. How do I analyze that data as it comes in? Well, this is an example of a page where I can see my exceptions. I'm not looking at all 200 plus sites that I have in my system. I'm only looking at 26 that have, and actually these are 26 price proposals. So over the night or during this morning, we have some costs that have changed. We have competitor data that has come in this morning from some of our different sources, from sites, from Opus, etc. And as that comes in, now I am alerted to where is market changes occurring and where should I have a price change potentially. So now this is part of the price determination, and so we're using these rules that you put into the system, and I'll walk you through a few examples here where you can say things like, well, I typically match the competitor across the street, but I also want to make sure I'm making at least 5 cents of replacement cost, so 5 cents replacement margin, so I'm 5 cents over the replacement cost. In this pop-up window, you're going to see the words here. So there's quite a few words here. Basically, the primary rule is listed first, and then we have some conditions. Those are, think of those as the secondary rules, and we want to make sure that all the secondary rules are also true. So if everything's true, there's a dash met at the end of that. We also see the other competitors listed for the site as an FYI, so I can see that who's priced where, all from this page as well. So on the right side of this page, we're going to see green and yellow dots under the criteria met. That's going to indicate, are all the rules met or are the rules not met? So if I hover over this yellow dot, my actual margin for the last 7 days is not more than 22 cents, and so it's not met. So I can see that listed here. So that's in ground, that's the actual margin, that's the in ground. I'm not making 22 cents on unleaded in this case, And so that's alerting me to say, hey, this is typically a high margin site, and so you know, if there's something going on here, I try to match the other competitors, but let me know if I'm not making what I think is the typical margins, then I can use my human knowledge to determine what to do next. So those are some examples. Actually, let me walk through a few more examples of some rules as well. So I want to be higher than a competitor, a whole group of competitors. I want to be higher, 2 cents higher than the lowest, or I want to match someone. We can also have rules that talk about what is my overall volume performance going to be doing as well. So if I wanted to take a look at what my volume performance is, I can say I want to make sure that I'm making good volumes, or at least above my targets. So you can set up your volume budgets or targets, and if you're above that, then I want to be 2 cents above the competitor. But if I'm not making good margins, then maybe 1 cent above the competitor, or maybe just match them. And so you can have these if-then type statements that say what you plan on doing for each one of those. Let me actually drill into one of these and show you as an example. Here's the example I just stated. So I want to say 2 cents higher than a competitor as long as my volume performance, so meaning towards my target, compared to my target for the last 7 days, is above target, then that's great. Then that's what I want to do, is 2 cents. If not, there's a statement here that says if not met, then I go down to the next one. So if I'm not above target, now I'm going to be 1 cent higher than the competitor unless I'm not within my target. So if I'm below my target for the last 7 days, then I'm just going to match the shortstop. And so you can add in this type of logic to have, I typically like to do this, but I also want to make sure I'm doing something different as well. Here's an example where I want to do match a competitor during a restoration. If I know there's another competitor that does a restoration, and when they do, they move 8 cents or more. So let's say typical national knowledge, we hear Speedway jumping 10, 20, 30 cents during a restoration. So maybe I have one of those in my market. I could say I want to match anybody who moves up more than 8 cents or 10 cents or 20 cents, whatever it is, then that's what I want to do. But if nobody moves more than 8 cents, then I'll do what I'm typically doing, which is just 2 cents higher than the lowest of all my competition. So it gives you the ability to have different strategies in different market conditions. So if I have a restoration market, if I'm flat, or if I have a decreasing market, you can do these if-then type statements to iron out exactly what you want in the system as well. So this is, we're going to talk about this later as well, but this gets you towards being able to take those vacations and having a backup person. So many times it's your head knowledge that is so powerful. If we can get some of your head knowledge, obviously we can't get it all because there's so much to field pricing. It's really a big art. There's a lot of art to it, and so that takes years of experience to really know how to price your sites. There's also a science side to field pricing as well, and so we have an economic model price listed here as a reference. So you can actually use this economic model price as part of your rules as well. So I could have some rules that say if the market conditions are flat, then I'm going to match my economic model price, or vice versa. I could say if things are going up or down, I want to match my economic model price. So those kind of things. If costs are moving significantly, then I want to take my economic model price. So I can see my street price, my current street price. I can see my economic model price, what the science is saying behind it, and then also what is my proposed price. That's going to be the science and my rules together. It's not an either or. I truly have them matched together, so I could be using my rules and my economic model together. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of talked high level about this page here. So let's go ahead and act like one of you doing your fuel pricing. And so in the morning, you have all the market movement. And so just think, you have these Excel spreadsheets. No, you don't. You consolidate all this information into a page that has some green and yellow dots, and now I can go through and say, I've reviewed these, and so as I hover over, I can say, yes, I agree with this. Yep, okay, good. Yeah, I understand. These are all in the same area, a couple different markets here, so I could see what's going on. And then I will go ahead and select the criteria met, so all the green dots are selected. And I'm going to say, yes, accept these prices, and I'm going to push these prices. And so it's saying, are you sure you want to push all those prices out to those sites all at once? And I'll say, yes, I will. And as I hit OK, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to show you a little sign emulator, a little virtual sign here. So this virtual sign is going to update as well. And so one of our sites, it was the first site in the list, is changing, and it's going to be changing this virtual sign as well. So what this means is I'm now getting, and you can see it changing now, 311 on through unleaded mid-premium. And so what this is giving you is that full confirmation that my site has changed their price. I can see, in this case, this is just a fake sign, right? I just wanted to show it to you. But this is a way that you can see your sign changing. We were connected to point-of-sale systems. Back at the beginning when I was talking about data integration, there's another tab which is POS integrations. We integrate to all the major and many POS systems today, and we continue to grow that list as well. So we've done the hard lifting to say, how do you communicate to those point-of-sale systems and get that price accurate at the site as well? So once this has changed, this is now communicating back to PriceAdvantage, the headquarters. And so if we went into that particular site, we would see a confirmation. In fact, let me go ahead and just do that. I'll jump into that site here. And we're going to see, if I hover over this 311, last changed price, time and date stamp. That is my computer time and date stamp right there. And we can also see a few related stores in the area in that pop-up window, so I can see where their price changes are as well. So the price change is confirmed back, and we can see that information. Let me go ahead and go back to that proposed prices page, and we will see that we have no longer the green dots. All we have is the yellow dots. And so now we'll be able to take a look at those as well. So we got that full confirmation back, and that's pretty powerful. So we just walked through the first two bullet points, reliable data. How do you get the data into your system? I'm going to show you some more powerful analytics and reports here in just a minute. And you're going to see how that data can come to make it easier for you to make those pricing decisions and run reports for management and anybody else within the company as well. We just walked through the confirmation. So you want those price changes. How do you know if your price is correct at the site or not? Or did it get changed, or hopefully they change it tomorrow morning? No, now you know. If the price does not get changed, then you're going to have an email go out saying you have a late price change as well. So that's a couple ways that you can make sure that you have that confirmation of data. So Allison, I'm going to pause right here just for a moment and see if anybody has submitted any questions.
They have. We've got a handful of questions here, and before I list them, those of you that are attending, if you do want to submit a question, feel free to just type it into the questions area, and I will read them off to Quentin. So Quentin, here's an interesting question. So they said you said that you can do this with a mobile device, and they are asking, did everything that you just show us, can you do it on a mobile device?
100% of everything I just showed is available on a mobile device. In fact, let me just pull up. I was going to save this for the end. I will just show you real quick here from a web page. I can log in the exact same screens. Actually, there's a couple neat features, but I'll come back to those here in just a minute. Let me go to proposed prices page. And this is the same three dots we were looking at from the headquarters side. That's what we're able to see here in my browser. So I'm truly looking at the criteria met, the green dots to the yellow dots. I click on it, I can see what the rule was as anything being met. So everything that I just walked through and changing those prices, all 100% of that from the browser as well.
Perfect. The next question, what kind of costs can you import? Because you've mentioned costs.
Good question. Yeah, so there's a couple different costs. Because I'm going to jump back into the headquarters client, this control center as we call it, I'm going to actually show you a couple places where you can dive into more detail on this. So we have these green and yellow dots, so the market's not always the same for everybody. So what we need to do is say, okay, so for that 10% of the time my rules don't work, I have to use my brain. And so then we can go into individual sites and start seeing more information. So we have the volumes, margins, and competitor data on this screen. Right in the middle is this replacement margin and actual margin. So there's actually two different costs you could be pulling in. Your replacement cost, so if I buy a load today, that's this 16.8 cents that we can see here. As I hover over, you can see what the total replacement costs are, so you can see that listed there. And you can also see the actual margin, when was that data coming in as well from your accounting system. So we're pulling in the actual margins, that's the in-ground or in the tank costs, and what those margins are as well. So you're getting both the in-ground and the replacement costs.
Awesome. Okay, and then the last question that I've got here for you, you showed the sign emulator, but my sites do not have electronic signs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
How do you know the change?
Right, how do you know the change? So PriceAdvantage, most of our customers have both some sites with electronic signs and sites that have manual signs. And so we've built PriceAdvantage to help you also with the manual signs, so it can alert the store manager in a number of different ways on the POS or on the back office PC with some ringing sounds, a text, an email, all sorts of ways that they could be notified of a price change coming in, and then they know, okay, I need to go change my sign. And once they change their sign, they can confirm, and they could be required to confirm in PriceAdvantage, either on a mobile device or on their back office PC, that yes, they truly did change the price on the sign. And we can communicate to the point of sale system, and so then they could just go and be notified to go change the sign specifically. So that actually brings up an interesting point. PriceAdvantage is going through the complete price change process and keeping track of every step along the way. So if I go up to this progress little stopwatch, it's going to show me all of the price changes that I've done recently, or pretty much all of them, but let's just take a look at the last one we just did this morning. And so I can see the price change started from CC, that's Control Center, that's what I'm logged into at the moment, and my unleaded changed from 315 to 311. Mid-grade change, premium, etc. And then we have a whole section here about updating Skyline signs. I happen to have my virtual sign, that's what that is just kind of mimicking a Skyline sign. Goes through, communicates to the sign, and then it's completed. If I had a POS system, so let's say a Verifone or Radiant or Gobarco connected to my system, I would also have several steps in the process where PriceAdvantage is communicating to the point of sale system, but in the correct order. So signs go up first. If the price is increased, in this case I went down, so the POS would update first and then the signs. So it gives you that complete knowledge of what's going on during my price change process. So if you have a site which has a manual sign, let's say you give somebody 60 minutes to change their price. You're like, yeah, you know, it's a single operator site, I'll give them 60 minutes. So after 60 minutes, there would be a late price change alert. So again, email, text messages, you would see a red dot inside PriceAdvantage of the price change hasn't changed in 60 minutes, and it alerts everybody. Then you could go in and say, where did the price change stop? Oh, I see, the point of sale system is offline, or we can't communicate properly with technology. So the system is now saying, okay, end user, I need you to go ahead and communicate to the point of sale system and do that for me. So there's a number of ways you can do that in PriceAdvantage, but I think that kind of touches on those initially of how can you still know that your price has changed, have your store managers confirm it is probably the first step.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions there?
Nope, that's it for now.
Okay, so we just talked about those yellow dots, and we got rid of all the green dots. Those are pushed out. We can see if there's late price changes or not. So let's kind of move up to a higher level here, where I could start looking at my overall site profitability, my site margins, and not just one site, but maybe multiple sites. And so I just was kind of dug into the one site and looking at those volumes, margins, and competitors. Actually, let me dive back in there. One thing I didn't mention is this graph at the bottom is a combination of some of that information at the top. So I can see what my volumes are, my unleaded mid-premium, my diesel, where my competition is priced as I hover over the different dots here, where I'm priced, where the competition is priced, and you can start slicing and dicing this data in different ways. And just by looking at a trend graph, I'm able to see some of my volume performance or my trends of, am I making my targets? That's those little green hashed boxes listed there. Am I making those or am I not? And so it's just, it's a good, quick glance at where my volumes are, while also taking a look at where your margins are listed up above as well. Also, when you're looking at sites, there's different ways that you want to look at them individually. Let me dive into a Google map. Here's an example of where I have my Google map and I'm looking at different sites. Here's my competition. You'll notice that I have both Opus and store surveys coming in for this particular Royal Farms here on Pulaski Highway. And then where's my site? Here's my site. I can see my price, my volumes, and my replacement margin all on this screen as well. So it's an easy way to start remembering where you're at, where the competition is, who's moving, and you can see on the little color indicators, the Royal Farms has unleaded and diesel and where they're priced, versus the Wawa here only has unleaded mid-premium as an example there as well. You can also see, this is a pretty slick feature too, where you want to see your traffic. So there's not a lot of Google traffic or slow traffic here, but if I was to zoom out a little bit, you'll start seeing some of the yellow and red lines, and this is live, so if you wanted to see where things are at traffic-wise, you could take a look at that pretty quick as well, while also seeing, well, I was going to show you related stores, but let's also take a look at kind of zooming out a little bit. Maybe you say, that's fine, I want to see all my stores, my sites, and competitors in a 10-mile radius. So now from my site, which is pretty much in the middle here, I'm able to see other sites. Here's another store number. I'm able to see other competitors listed on the screen, and so I can start clicking around and I can see where those prices are by the pins as well. So pretty helpful to be able to start diving into those on a store-by-store basis. All right, there's probably enough time there. There's more we could talk about, but I'll go ahead and pass on that and move on to how do we kind of raise this up a notch. How do I look at my volumes, my margins, my competitors at a larger scale, not just an individual site, but also from a larger performance level. So I'm going to go to some analysis screens. These analysis screens are available for both multiple sites and for single sites. And so I'm going to walk through several of these here. Let's take a look at the volume analysis. So by default, I'm looking at all stores. Let's actually change this to be a different group. So I just pulled this up pretty quick, but this is really a way to slice and dice your sites. Is it by region, by markets, by districts? Is it by how you're doing for volumes or what state they're located in, or all of the ones that are closed for remodeling? Any grouping, any type of grouping that you can come up with, you can have in PriceAdvantage, and you create these. You don't have to call us to do that. We make the product easy to use. And now you can even do things like, show me all my sites where I'm competing against a Wawa, as just an example. So all my sites that compete against a Wawa, I have 8 sites that compete against a Wawa. And so you can just really pick and choose the slice and dice of your site. So which sites do you want to see? And you can do this for all reports and all analytics screens as well. All right, so we're looking at the 55 sites here. If I take a look at this graph, over the last 30 days, and you can choose any time period you wish, this year, last 6 weeks, 7 days, whatever you want, monthly, daily, quarterly, etc. And visually, I can see here that on this Tuesday, something significant happened, and I can see that here compared to this red line. That's last year. That's a Tuesday for last year, and this is a Tuesday for this year. This green line is my margins. I'm going to turn that off for just a moment. And so we can see compared to last year, the red line, how am I doing trend-wise? You can see the performance numbers as well. So we really pride ourselves on taking our customer enhancements and making them easy to use in the solution. So this is an example of a report that one of our customers wanted to see, and so the customer said, this is the type of information I want to see, and then we made it so that you can see it both graphically, so it's easy on the eyes, easy to consume, while also having the specific numbers for each of the sites listed down below as well. So now you can see both, we'll call it kind of the people who aren't in the numbers every day, aren't in the Excel spreadsheets every day. The graph is easier to comprehend for some of the trends. So it's easy to give this to management, and one way to do that is to just export this, and you can export it to several different items. You can do CSV file if you want to do more information. You could do images or PDF, send it to your boss, or put in a PowerPoint, those kind of things as well. So make it pretty simple for you to take this information one step further. Now you may be curious to see, how do I see this volume information but on a Google map? And so here's an example of a Google map where I'm looking at my volume performance versus target, and as I hover over the different areas, it's going to be highlighting a market, a district, or an individual site as well. So as you zoom in, I could look at a site and say, okay, this site must be having some issues, and sorry, it's kind of flashing here because of the webinar, but basically this is bringing up performance information, and I'm able to see where we're at for my volumes versus target and versus last year. So pretty slick to be able to see that information as well. Let's go over to margin analysis, last 30 days or whatever time frame you wish. And same thing, I can see the cost, which is this kind of brownish bar, and then we have the little green, this is what everybody pats you on the back for, is what goes in the bank. And so that's what, to the accounting system, let's take away the cost. This is what the accounting system says you're doing for those weighted actual margins. And you can select any commodity you wish and time frame, but I'm just going to do this listed here. And again, you can show it on a Google map. And so now I'm looking at my margin performance on a Google map. Again, when I hover over, I'm able to see per site, per region, per group, per district, right? You get the idea of how you do that. You're able to see what those performances are doing as well. And now I could do side by side. I have volumes on the left, I have my margins on the right, and you can see some of the green areas for volume are actually reddish areas over on the margin side. So it kind of gives you an idea of where things are stacking up as well. All right, so next question is usually, what is my my competitor situation? So let's go to a smaller group. Let's go to a district. So I have 10 sites in this competitor group, and I'm going to select a few more. And so for my 10 sites, here's the competition. And there's quite a bit of text on the screen here, but this is really helpful when you're looking at where am I priced versus my competition. Several lines here. Let's take off a few so we can see this a little bit better. All right, so now I can see I have Valero towards the top here, and I have my where I'm priced is the green line. There's a dark green line in here. That's where I'm priced, and where the other competitors are priced as well. So from this, you can start seeing some trends of when did somebody restore the market and who moved first. And so over time, you can start seeing some of those patterns of data coming in from either your store manager or from Opus, FuelZ, etc. So from those other data sources that you have access to, you can have those in and be able to compare when is the restoration happening, who's the first store to move up or first competitor to move up, who's the first to move down, where do I want to be? Am I truly where I want to be according to the data? and then you can start making your strategies based on the data as well, because now you have more visibility to it because it's all within one system. All right, so we just did volume, margins, competitors. There's also, what if you take your volumes and margins together? Well, what do? You get your profits, right? So here's an example of another analysis screen where I have my weighted actual margins on the bottom. I have my volumes across the top, or on the side here. So multiply them together and you get your profits. Everybody loves the profits. So as we look at this, we have 4 different quadrants. Cash cow. Why is it cash cow? That's because I'm able to get more volume, more margin than my other stores. So it's really comparing your slice of stores, whatever it is. I did a district here. I could change this to be, again, a larger group of stores. And where are all of my sites at? And let me zoom in a little bit. There's one outlier out there. We'll zoom in a little more. And I'm going to change this. Okay, so now I have my store location numbers. I can see some performance numbers as I hover over, and I can start seeing where those are on my graph of underperforming, overperforming. Yeah, I know that there's a few sites that I get decent volumes, but I can't get the margins. The margins are always tough at that location. And you know that, so you know where they're going to be on the graph. What's nice is now you can see those, and this is a visual way too to say, for the last 30 days, has my cash cow group changed or my underperforming stores changed since my 6 months or this year, year to date, last year, etc. So you can start doing some comparisons that way as well. And this isn't really one of those reports you run on a daily basis, in my mind, but maybe it is. But this is something that you can dive into to start wondering, am I doing the right strategy? Do I need to change strategies? And if so, where? Where should I change those strategies? How about I look for ways to get some more margin from these sites that are down here on the lower left-hand side here? So just another way to be looking at those sites as well. There's also market view analysis. Yeah, I'll jump in there real quick. And then Allison's going to slap me for having too much time here, but we'll make it through.
That's all right.
All right, so let's take a look at, let's do a district here. And so this is another way that I could be looking at multiple sites at a time and seeing where those sites are in comparison to their market. So each one of these little cards is a site. So this is just another way some people do their pricing, where they want to see numbers, and also these green and red arrows are showing me the competitor movement. Are competitors moving up or down typically? And I can see it for a whole market. So you might have 2 stores in a market or 10, and so you can just scroll through and see all those different sites and say, okay, everybody's trending up. So even if I don't have a survey in for one, I know the whole area is trending up or down, and then I could click on this store number and change the price right from here. And so I change the price, boom, it's moved on. I go down to the next one and continue my process of changing prices on a per market basis. Just another way to view it. There's multiple ways that people are using PriceAdvantage, but I think you get the idea there as well. Okay, so there's a lot of reports, and I think for time's sake, I'm only going to show you a couple. And so just bear with me here as we go through a couple reports, but there's many more, so feel free to get in touch with us and say, hey, I'd like to see some more, and we'll be happy to do a personalized demonstration for you and show you some more reports or analytics that we kind of glossed over here fairly quickly today. All right, I'm going to show a report which I think is fairly unique, where on a graphical and numeric basis, we're going to be showing you both volumes, margins, actually 3 things, volumes, margins, and competitor information all on one graph. The blue bars are my volumes. This red line is my cost, so you can see the cost. The green line is my store price. So I'm looking at one store, but for multiple commodities. You could do it just for one. And so if this green line ever dips below the black line, that's selling underwater, right? So you're losing money every gallon you sell. and you've probably been there. So now you can have it in a graphical way to show to management of like, okay, here's the trend. The costs are trending up, the prices are trending down, the competition, the solid red line is also all the competition, and then I have a few competitors, 3 of them listed separately if I want to see where they're priced as well. Again, seeing who moved first, those kind of things. So pretty slick information. Second page has all the data, and when you run these reports, just like previously, you can save them as a number of different items, CSV files to PDFs, etc. So good information within PriceAdvantage, a number of ways to run reports on that as well. Last one I'll show you, and then we'll move on, is the total market summary. I'm going to do the last 30 days, and we'll do it for all stores, where I'm going to be looking at all of my 200 plus sites. Could be grouped however you wish. So if you have 5 sites, you have 10 sites, you have 1,000 sites. This is helpful information to see grouped together. How am I doing on my volumes this 7 days compared to the previous 7 days? What's that percentage difference? And say, wow, okay, I'm trending down quite a bit right here, 4.5%. Maybe I should be looking at District 9 and whatever sites are in there. Is there something I could do to get some of those from trending down? That's something you don't see on the profit graph, but you do see here. So there's information like that. What is my margins? How different are they compared to last year? Same thing for my volumes and gross profit difference compared to last year. All rolled up at the bottom, so you can see it for your company total. Kind of a nice way to send this off to management or the owner of the company as well. All right, so that's walking through quite a bit here, and I apologize for going too quick, but this is really hitting on the third bullet point as well, is how can you go on vacation? How do you trust that the backup person that you have as well? If you give them the tools and the data and having your strategies in the system, it's really going to help you in educating them on what a lot of people call it my gut feel, right? What's your gut feel? Well, your gut feel, put some of that into the tool and say, well, 80% of the time, this is true, but the 20%, that's where the gut feel comes into play, and that's the art and science balance that you have to have as well. I think I better pause here and see if there's some additional questions.
No, I think we're good. No additional questions unless the group, if you want to raise your hand, we can open the lines, or you could type in a question. But I think right now the polling, yeah, it's clear. I was going to say, I had one question that actually did trail in a little bit a while ago. As you're doing the reports, the question was, can you schedule the reports and have them like automatic and have them email people, or do you have to pull them manually?
Yeah, what we find is that most of our customers are going into either a mobile device or their computer or somewhere to run those reports so that they're truly live information. Most of our customers are running those live. We do have some customers who are wanting to schedule some reports or can have them emailed out, but typically it's all going to be run manually so that you have the latest and greatest information when you run those reports.
Okay, great. Well, with that, why don't we hit the last couple of slides? So our folks, we kind of went over, everyone. I apologize for taking too much of your time, but you stuck with us, which means hopefully we're showing something that is interesting to you. Real quickly, we do have a free 30-day trial for joining us today. The product here is outlined. It's easy to use, easy to install. Because everything is pre-built, like the integrations and so forth, you can be up and running in just a couple of weeks. Little training is required. Our pricing structure, there are no hidden fees and no surprises. You purchase only those components that you need, and it includes training, ongoing support services, and free upgrades. And then the most important part, what I consider, is our dedicated Agile team. We have a wonderful group of sales engineers and account managers who work with you from the very beginning to help you look. Now, the 3 frustrations that we just walked through, they all may 3 be yours. You may have something different that you'd like to address. Our product is componentized, so that, for example, if you just want the basic functionality, being able to change the prices and getting reports, you can do that, or you can purchase every component in the book and have such a robust product, you'll be the pricing hero. As again stated, we do have a free 30-day trial, and it generally is up to 10 of your stores. It takes, for some folks, it only takes about a week. For some others, maybe 2 weeks to get those stores up and ready to go for a test period of 30 days. So if you're interested, I will send each of you a follow-up email on that offer and the contact information for your account managers. But you know, we take great pride in our product. Our people see true results. And so I want to thank you for joining us today. And if you'd like to see a further demo or more personalized option, we can arrange that as well. So with that, we will end. I want to thank you so much for your time. All of us are very busy, and I hope we presented some value to here today. So we will close out, and again, have a wonderful day. Thank you.